This is the most Star Wars droid-looking camera I think I have ever seen in my life. Not gonna lie, probably spent a little bit longer making this than I should have. Yeah. It's awesome. But it doesn't just look like a robot, it actually is one. And I know you've seen like AI cameras following people around the room before, but this does way, way more than that. Thanks to Eufy for sponsoring today's video and for sending me the cutest Wi-Fi 6 pan and tilt 4K indoor camera I have ever seen, with possibly the most disturbing AI auto tracking to date. Spooky. Staring straight at me. Holy shit. What? Get off my face.
Walk into my own seat.
Walk in what?
What's the robot?
I know I can't.
Robots.
Aww. You're cute. You're cute! You gotta keep him, don't get rid of him.
So you can't give him away.
No.
Yeah.
This is too cute.
That was actually filmed on its 2K setting. The camera is in fact capable of 4K, and I'll be showing you some side-by-side footage of this versus my AQARA G3 later on in the video for comparison. But first of all, let's run through all of the reasons that Eufy are the best security camera system manufacturers in the world.
Oh, here we go! Paul Hibbert recommends AQARA 1 week and then Eufy the next, because I guess it's just whoever pays him the most money each week that gets featured, isn't it?
Every ecosystem has its advantages and its disadvantages. I've moved practically all of my smart home gear now to AQARA, but Eufy, their prime focus is actually security cameras, and so I thought it was a good idea to specifically pit my AQARA G3 camera against the Eufy security camera I've been sent today. So, let's do that. The S350 has 4K resolution and 3 times optical zoom, something I have personally never seen on any other security camera. It has 2 lenses, both shooting at 15 frames per second, but in a similar way to how your camera has a bunch of lenses on the back for different focal points, one eye is wide angle and the other is for zoom. It can pan a full 360 degrees and tilt 75 degrees, and in addition to the AI tracking, it has 4 programmable preset positions, auto cruise, and patrol mode. People are worried about AI, and understandably so, but it's not all bad. This robot once saved us from Cilla Black's cover of You're the Voice.
We're not gonna sit in silence. We're not gonna live with fear.
Have you, considered subscribing? I do this thing every week. It's always technology related with a little bit of humor thrown in. If you're enjoying it, please consider giving this a thumbs up. It tells YouTube it's good. More people should see it. And if you hit the subscribe button and ding the bell, you get to see me more often. On with the show. It has this really clever mode for protecting your privacy, which isn't the first time I've seen it in a camera, but it is the saddest time I've seen it in a camera. Aww. Made it sad. Oh my god. I don't like that. God, that was heartbreaking. It looks like you've just told it off. But the point is that the geofencing in Eufy's security system is so good that every time I come home, it automatically switches the privacy mode on, and every time I leave the house, it turns the privacy mode off. Now, this isn't, again, the first time I've seen this. AQARA's camera does exactly this if you program it up to do so. But Their geofencing is still in beta and can only be tied to one phone. This means that if I go out of the house and my missus comes home, because it's not listening out for her phone, she doesn't have the same level of privacy because the camera continues to watch and potentially record. I think, to my knowledge, let me know in the comments if I've got this wrong, but I think it's the only non-DIY based system that does this. Everything else is monitoring for one phone only. Like the Philips Hue fanboys say, it just works. It just works! I've had no false alerts so far, and notifications have been lightning quick. I tested them against my AQARA camera to see which was fastest, and quite bizarrely, the AQARA camera is faster when my phone is connected to my Wi-Fi by about 1 second. AQARA. Eufy. But is about 1 second slower than the Eufy system when I'm out and about. Wow, okay. Ah! Well, that changes things, doesn't it? So it depends which you think is more valuable. I would assume when you're out and about is probably the more valuable situation. It also has audio detection, not just for sounds in general, but can actually be specified for listening out for babies crying. Wow. And this can then generate a notification, it can start recording, and this is really cool, you can actually have it do a 360-degree loop of the room as part of that recording. As you would expect from any smart home camera, it works with Amazon Alexa and Google Home, and also has two-way audio and a built-in siren. Stop. Stop. But I think the most important feature that this camera has that is missing from everything else I've ever tried, and this is a Eufy specific thing, is the ability to snooze your camera. You can just press a button and you don't get notifications for 15 minutes, and then it comes back on again. Or 20 minutes, or half an hour, or an hour. No other camera system does this. It's either off or on, and every time I turn it off, I forget to turn it back on again, which is no good for security at all. Motion detection can be zoned so that it's only monitoring specific areas, and detection preferences can be set to human, pet detection, alrighty then, and all motion. And you can have sound detection as well as motion detection trigger a notification and a recording. Welcome to my latest camera quality test, which I'm calling Burglary Through Interpretive Dance. The first thing you'll notice is the Eufy camera has a much wider field of view and far superior image quality. However, it is worth noting that the frame rate on the Eufy camera is worse than the AQARA camera at only 15 frames per second, and this does actually add noticeable blurring if the object is moving at speed. This is easily the best picture I have seen of any indoor camera so far, marred only slightly by the slower frame rate. For storage, you can choose to either record only motion events or 24/7 entirely locally to a 128GB micro SD card, or to their home base with no subscription required whatsoever. And I think it's worth pointing out here that even if you cut the internet, this camera and its app will still work whilst you're in your network, which is really good if you're the tinfoil hat type, because it means that you can firewall this thing away from the internet and still use it to your heart's content. If you do want to use the cloud storage, it's one of the cheapest on the market, but in the interests of a fair review, I think it's worth noting that AQARA do entirely free cloud storage, but only for 12-second clips. This thing will record entire events regardless of their length, and stick them in the cloud for 30 days for a ridiculously low price tag. And now for the elephant in the room. As of time of filming, this thing in no way integrates with Home Assistant directly. It does, however, have the ability to do RTSP, and you could use it to integrate to Home Assistant that way, with just one small problem. Limited to 1080p. Stop looking at me like that. Stop looking all cute. Similarly, there is no support yet for Apple HomeKit, which is a huge surprise to me because I thought Eufy were all in on the whole Apple HomeKit deal.
What? Lord Vader! Does this mean we're going to sell less HomePod minis? Teach Eufy a lesson immediately.
Okay then, pressing the bye-bye button now.
No, don't press the bye-bye button!
It also doesn't do color night vision, which is a bit of a surprise for a camera at this price tag. It doesn't matter to me personally because I've always used the black and white modes anyway because I personally think they are clearer. But if it bothers you, it's worth knowing about. And finally, my Switchbot camera, which is another camera altogether, has this ability where it can go into privacy mode when you tell Alexa to do it, which is really, really cool. I don't suppose this matters because you'll be using the geofencing anyway, but I just think it's worth mentioning that the Alexa functionality for this thing is only two things. It's one, you can load it up as a video feed on an Echo Show, the Show dining room.
Okay.
That's awesome. That's really quick. And two, you can actually use it to trigger routines using motion. So if the camera sees motion, you can have your lights come on, which is also really, really cool. But it's missing that one piece of functionality, which would be lovely if you don't want to use geofencing. I think before I wrap up, it's worth mentioning that I think Eufy have got the whole security concept nailed better than anybody. And what I mean by this is when you open up the app, it's really clear where your cameras are, and it's really clear how to set things like home modes and away modes. And when you set a home mode, it sets all the cameras to do all the things. You can have your home modes and your away modes customized. So you can say, I want the home mode to have the camera on in this room but not notifying me, and when I go away I want the camera on but notifying me and the camera in the other room off but notifying me, or vice versa. You can actually set all of those things down to a T in a way that you just can't with any other supplier. It's such a simple system and everybody should be copying it. My wife won't let me get rid of this camera. I said, will we give this away to somebody and go back to the AQARA thing? And she said, no, it's too cute. I think that alone is probably going to end up with me using the Eufy system, but we'll see. I kind of like having everything under one roof under the AQARA banner. Either way, if there was one manufacturer I would think of going to for my camera systems, EasyViz are awesome. I do like the Switchbot stuff, but it could do with an improvement in its picture quality. If you want something that is a real good all-rounder and does everything really, really well, Eufy is it. If you want to buy any of these things, as usual, there are links in the description. In the meantime, these incredible people are the reason you're watching me. They're my patrons from Patreon, and without them, I'd still be working in a call center. If you want to be one of those incredible people, you can do that at either Patreon or buy me a one-off beer at PayPal, and either way, I'll genuinely love you forever. These are my Facebooks and my X's and my Threads and my Instagrams and my TikToks. Come and hang out there and we can be best friends. See you next time. This robot once saved us from Syllabac Black... Welcome to my new camera image quality test that I'm calling Burglary Through... Yeah.